There is a moment that repeats itself quietly in the life of almost every person alive today. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels instead like patience, like preparation, like waiting for the right conditions before you finally begin. Someone at their desk, late at night, staring at a blank document that represents the business they want to start, the book they want to write, the career they want to build. They tell themselves they'll begin tomorrow. Once they've done a little more research, once they feel a little more ready, once the timing is a little more perfect, tomorrow arrives. The same thought repeats. Weeks pass, then months, then, without any dramatic turning point, years. This is the mental trap. And it is, quite possibly, the single most expensive pattern a human mind can fall into. Not because it destroys life in one violent moment, but because it erodes it silently, one postponed decision at a time. Psychologists have a name for the mechanics behind it: the intention-action gap. It is the space between what we plan to do and what we actually do. And for most people, that gap is where their potential quietly goes to die. The trap thrives on a simple, almost invisible deception. It convinces you that thinking about a goal is a form of progress toward that goal. It isn't. Reflection feels productive. It activates the same neural reward pathways as actual accomplishment, which is precisely why the brain prefers it. Why do the difficult, uncertain work of starting, when merely contemplating starting delivers a small, satisfying hit of dopamine with none of the risk? This is not a character flaw. It is a design feature of the human brain, inherited from a distant evolutionary past where caution kept us alive. Our ancestors who hesitated before jumping into unknown territory survived more often than those who acted impulsively. That instinct served them well against predators and unfamiliar terrain. But in the modern world, a world built on decisive action, rapid iteration, and calculated risk, that same instinct becomes a liability. The brain still treats uncertainty as danger, even when the danger is nothing more than sending an email, applying for a role, or opening the first page of a manuscript. So the mind manufactures reasons to wait. It disguises fear as diligence. It calls hesitation strategy. It insists that just a little more information, a little more certainty, a little more confidence will arrive. And then, and only then, will action be justified. But that moment of perfect readiness is a myth. It never arrives because the brain is engineered to keep finding new reasons for delay indefinitely. Consider two individuals with the identical idea for a small business. One spends 18 months refining the plan, researching competitors, waiting for the right time to launch. The other spends 2 weeks building an imperfect version and puts it into the world. By the time the first person finally launches, the second has already made mistakes, learned from real customers, and adjusted course 3 or 4 times. The gap between them was never talent. It was never resources. It was the trap. One person caught inside it, the other, somehow, breaking free. This is the quiet tragedy playing out in millions of lives right now. Not dramatic failure, but dramatic delay. Not a single bad decision, but thousands of small, invisible postponements that accumulate into lost decades. And the most unsettling truth is this: most people trapped inside this pattern don't even recognize it as a trap. They believe they are simply being careful, responsible, patient. If you recognize yourself in this description, and most people will, understand that this recognition is not a verdict. It is the first essential step toward reclaiming everything this pattern has quietly taken from you. Understanding the trap is not the same as escaping it. Diagnosis without a cure is just a more sophisticated form of paralysis, another clever way for the mind to feel like it's making progress while nothing actually changes. So let's talk about the exit. The first principle is deceptively simple. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Most people wait to feel ready before they move. But readiness is not a precondition for action. It is a byproduct of it. The nervous system doesn't calm itself through contemplation. It calms itself through evidence. The moment you take a small physical step forward, however clumsy, your brain receives proof that the danger it imagined isn't materializing. Confidence isn't found before the leap. It's manufactured by the leap itself. The second principle is a deliberate shrinking of scale. The trap thrives on the size of the goal. Write a book is paralyzing. Write for 8 minutes is not. The mind's resistance is proportional to how large and undefined a task appears. So the way through is not to gather more courage, but to make the first move so small that avoiding it would take more effort than doing it. This isn't a productivity trick. It's a psychological bypass, a way of sneaking past the brain's threat detection system before it has time to object. The third principle is perhaps the most uncomfortable. You must redefine what failure actually means. In the trapped mind, failure is treated as evidence of unworthiness, proof that you shouldn't have tried at all. But examine any person who has built something meaningful, and you'll find their history is not a straight line of triumphs. It's a long, unglamorous record of misfires, corrections, and second attempts. Failure, understood correctly, is not the opposite of progress. It's the mechanism of it. The trap survives by making failure feel final. Freedom begins the moment you understand never was. Consider someone who spent 3 years circling the idea of leaving a career that no longer fit them, endlessly weighing pros and cons, waiting for a sign, a certainty, a guarantee that never came. What finally moved them wasn't a burst of confidence. It was a single unremarkable Tuesday when they sent one message to one contact in an industry they were curious about. No plan, no safety net, just one small imperfect action. That message led to a conversation. The conversation led to an opportunity, not because the fear disappeared, but because they stopped waiting for it to. And here is what almost no one tells you. The trap doesn't vanish after one victory. It returns. You will find yourself, weeks or months later, hesitating again, dressed up in a new disguise, whispering the same old reasons to wait. This isn't failure. It's the nature of the pattern. The difference between those who stay trapped and those who don't is not the absence of relapse. It's the speed of recognition. The moment you notice yourself waiting for permission that will never come, you already have everything you need to interrupt it. One small action, taken now, not later. The mental trap has already claimed more of your time than you'd like to admit. But it does not get to claim what comes next unless you let it. So ask yourself, honestly, what is the one thing you've been waiting to feel ready for? And what would happen if, just for today, you stopped waiting and did it anyway?